Okay, and let's have a go at this. I'm holding the microphone with one hand, so that's okay, because for this game you only need the mouse. And let's have a look. That's fine. I'm just going to turn down. There we go. Always got to adjust the sound levels. So now, if I go forward, look at miroir, load game, and day free. There we are.
Oh yes, still shoots. Let me remember. That's it. The Freeman in the siege where we met told me about a still shoot maker.
Okay. For whatever reason with this game, when I was first playing it, I grew up with the subtitles, so I'm having them back. But I like them in balloons. Hey, just for a laugh. If this doesn't work, we'll have it back in English. And then terminer. So, let's go out of the palace. Prendre une hélicoptère. Let's go there first of all. I did a test yesterday. There's multiple inputs and outputs on the sound card, and I thought to myself, could I get multiple microphones working or audio inputs? And the answer is yes, you can. So we'll try something later on. I'm not going to do it today. And do I want to skip ahead? Well, I'll just briefly sort of say, if this had been, it's struggling a bit there. If this had been a program in the early 90s, like an after-school show, especially one where you could somehow interact with the audience, or millions of them, well, it'd have been an interesting experience, that's for sure. But I was fascinated with programs like Games Master and Bad Influence, and I enjoyed watching people play games which I wouldn't have otherwise done. And I would have been very interested to see someone play this and just have the story unfold, much like Nightmare. I mean, there was a game where you'd have one kid who'd go through the various dungeons, couldn't see anything, and his team of friends would have to describe what it was that he was seeing and where to go. So let's talk with the Fremen.
We saw you coming from the other siege.
There we go, we got subtitles in the original French.
I can feel something in you, but I wonder if you will be able to penetrate the secrets of this planet.
Oh yeah, let's go to table de mixage and change the music order. Music on CD style. And then random. So we have the credits music. Now where did I find Gurney? Was it in this one? Let's go there. Yeah, I'd have been, a half-hour show or even hour-long show where just they're playing it and they're talking about what's happening around the bend, what's coming next, or where do we go from here. And of course they could have edited it for good television, so if they were struggling for whatever reason, they could have used I'm going to go into DOS afterwards and show like a tool I've got they call Dune Edit, which is a save game editor. And using it, I found there's a few assets which aren't available in a normal game playthrough. Like there's some hidden villages and sietches as well, which I just thought, well, that's a shame. Might as well re-enable them. So, do I want to put a vote to it? No, this is a dictatorship. I'll read through the walkthrough, and I'll see which ones are hidden, and I'll enable them in game, because it always annoyed me. I remember playing the game in the early 90s, and I went everywhere on the map, and I was still like a few regions where it was grey, and I thought, well, there must be something there, right? So I used to just sort of fly around for hours just going, there has to be something. And I'd take like Stilgar and Gurney because people in the story, I remember in the Dune sort of them being told of having like really good eyesight, even better than Duncan, Idaho. But no, it turns out there's certain places just you can't find them unless you physically edit the save game and sort of change it from hidden to discovered. Let's aller directement à destination. Oh, well, we're already there. I've lost my mouse cursor. There it is. Let's go in and have a chat with the Fremen, the Chief Fremen.
I thought you looked interested in my still suit.
In my distill? Oh, well, yeah, of course. I mean, it's short for distillation suit.
Yes, I know a still suit maker. You will find him if you fly eastward in your Orny.
Your Orny, eastward.
But be sure to fly with someone. Sietches are well hidden and not easy to find.
Mais ne voir par le sol, car les sièges ne sont pas faciles à trouver. They're not easy to find. Yeah, okay.
We're doing spice mining. May I show you the characteristics of my troop?
I think Alisay means trial. But I could put this... Oh, go on. Let's have it in Fremen. Alright, squiggly lines. I'm surprised there's actually a Fremen alphabet. I like those sorts of attentions to detail. I mean, in most games these days, they wouldn't bother with a made-up language, and I think that's why I like Dune, Star Trek, and Lord of the Rings, because people have put serious efforts into the what you call it, languages. That's it. Can't skip through this one, so we'll just have to talk and bear with it. But my idea is every Wednesday, got something to look forward to, and we'll have it at a regular time. I've been asking friends what time I should put it on. My provisional idea is one in the afternoon, and I'll be there in the chat talking with you as you go through the experience. If people say, "Oh, could you put it at 9 PM?" I'll do it at that, but I don't know. Is anybody doing anything at 9 PM? I assume the long bit is go towards that destination. Yeah, you know what? I'm putting it back out, either French or English. No, let's have the subtitles in the language people understand. I mean, even part of me was thinking, when did the good shows start on children's? But when did, like, Games Master, I think, was 6 in the evening. And that's when people are having their dinner, and we don't all sit in front of our computer watching stuff at dinner time. So I've seen that's the one, yeah. And there's American and there's English. I like that. Hey, this mix power, right? So this is music, and you got a pan, so I can have it all the way to the left, and how does that work? All the way to the right. So during voices, it pans to the right, and then the voices pan. Oh, that's kind of it. I like the fact that they've actually gone to that. It's not just all mono, and they've gone... I mean, I suppose back in the 90s people were still interested in stereo. These days things are in mono, and it's just like... We work so hard for stereo. Like so many things we work hard for, like understanding maths and hovercraft and Concorde. Anyway, let's go inside and... Hey look, there's a Fremen.
Welcome to our siege border trainings.
Oh, well, thank you.
You want to know about the principles of our still suits. It's good that you're so keen to learn our ways. A still suit is basically a high-efficiency filter. perspiration passes through the first layer and is gathered in the second. Salt is separated, and the reclaimed water circulates to catch pockets from which you can drink through a tube at your neck.
I can hear Max von Sydow's voice when he's saying that passage.
Breathing and walking provide the pumping action. Here are some steel suits for both of you, and I'll send some to your palace as well.
Oh, that's kind of him.
I know of 2 more sieges in the vicinity whose leaders would be more than interested in meeting you, Paul Atreides. Travel north and east from here.
Like I said, the first few times I played this game, I only had the floppy disk version, and I remember begging my cousin's father, it's like, please, can I have, like, was it 2 or 3 floppy disks to take this game back with me when I go home? And so
We've heard of you. You are the son of the Atreides Duke, and of Jessica, the... Could he be the one?
yes, he could be the one. Oh, I like even my whisper goes almost into the yellow. So work for me.
I agree to let my troops work for you. My troop is awaiting your orders. Have a look at the characteristics.
I wonder who did the voice acting for this. I'd have liked to have been in the studio when they did.
I've seen a spice harvester around. There isn't anyone using it. It would be nice to have it. May I show you the characteristics?
Well, I'll give him the spice harvester, and we'll just... because, of course, later on in the game, it'll be like, oh, the spice harvester got eaten by a worm. We had no way of seeing it coming from the distance. And that's when you give them ornithopters. But if I give them the ornithopter, I can't walk in the desert.
I'm sure that we'll do a better job with this harvester.
Okay. So we can see here that, well, the Atreides eagle is above the, is it an eagle or is it a hawk? Anyway, that's above that, so that's where we are. And it's in grey to mean that we can communicate with the Fremen there. And these ones in brown can't communicate with them, so let's go there flying an Orny. Do I want to skip to destination, or do I want to talk a bit more? No, let's just go to the destination. Let's try and get some good content through this. Get some progress.
We Fremen are the original inhabitants of Dune. We've adapted our way of life to the desert.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree to let my troops work for you.
I like all the uhs they've put into the that the voice actors did.
The area has to be prospected for spice before we start mining it.
Ah, I see. I see. Well, I've told them to specialise in spice, and I can't move them. So let's talk with Gurney.
I suspect the existence of a troop of prospectors. Well, there has to be one. I'm convinced such a troop is nearby, probably in one of these already prospected sieges.
Yes. So let's go and talk with that one who says, I don't think you're ready for us to work for you yet. If you're curious about the soundtrack here, and the sound effects themselves...
We had heard rumors that you might call on our services.
Yes.
Prospecting for spice is a dangerous and a skillful job.
It certainly is. Work for me.
Good to see that our knowledge is appreciated. Yes, Paul Atreides, we will work for you. We are awaiting your orders. We're unbeatable in spice prospecting. Here, I have something you may find interesting. Here, take this map of the planet. You can update this map as we send back information to you.
I tried to hover over what, but it wouldn't let me choose it, so let's move them.
Where you want me to go next.
Alright, there's the two. I used to think that you could send them to an already prospected area and that would somehow find new spice, and again that was knowledge coloured by reading the book, because of course spice is constantly being regenerated on the surface of Dune due to spice blows.
We are the spice prospectors. already show me 3 sieges where you want me to go.
Alright, move, and then I have to choose a third one because... Oh, I can click done, can't I?
Okay.
And already they're out of communication, I can't shout to them or anything, so... He's going there, and I'm going to go there. Oh yeah, so I want to explain about the soundtrack and sound effects in this. Well, the original one had no soundtrack. Did it? No, it didn't. Or was it because it was silent? I'll have to have a go at the floppy disk version, see if there is a soundtrack in there. Maybe I'll do that as a supplemental, just to show the differences between the CD version and that. Ad-lib sound, which I'm told is 7 voices, 3 for sound effects, 4 can be used for music. I don't know. If you want to know more about it, go to the 8-bit guy. Because I was curious to know, what's the difference? I never had an ad-lib sound card, you see. I always had a Sound Blaster, which was ad-lib compatible. I was like, alright, what's this, what's the difference? And probably the 8-bit guy explains it, because he was talking about making his game Planet X3. He's made Planet X2, which is a real-time strategy game for the Commodore 64, which is an impressive achievement. And having 3 voice channels on the C64 SID chip, whereas with Adlib you've got 7 sound voices, and it's quite fun. I mean, I remember one guy, he's uploaded a video where he's playing Gods, and he's going through PC speaker, Tandy sound. Tandy sound has 3 voices. I think the C64 is probably 4. I don't know. I never had one. Anyway, let's skip to destination. But yeah, it used to be back in the day. Let's talk with the Fremen. Let's talk with him, see if he's got any other salient information. No more salient information. Work. Oh, what just repeats what its last thing said. Alright, let's get in mining spice. No, the only equipment is my ornithopter and you're not having it. Alright, so we're done with that. Let's go take the ornithopter and let's go back to the palace. Probably advance the story a bit. Yeah, back in the day, back before you got 100 gigabyte game downloads, space was at a premium. I mean, yeah, you could... Space was at a premium, and I remember in the mid-90s a 500 gigabyte hard drive was like, oh wow, that's big. And I remember... Just a minute. Sorry, I'm just working a toothpick into a gap in my teeth which was bothering me. So, space was at a premium, and for reference, a CD, which is what, 74 minutes long, of uncompressed audio, that's about 700 megabytes. So a 500 megabyte hard drive is smaller than the size of a CD, so you couldn't fit a whole soundtrack in it. So people would use MIDI, they would use Adlib, and they would have short little samples, or just, you know, instructions to produce a signal tone like on the synthesizer. And instead of having a soundtrack which would take up 100 megabytes, like a MP3 or a CD soundtrack, you would have compressed instructions to produce the music. And a lot of people which grew up playing the CD version of this game say they prefer the Adlib version to Stefan Peek's Spice Opera, which is the fully realised version. I, having never heard this version of Dune up until a few years ago, I mean, the Adlib version sounds nice, but I like the extra expression and tonality of the fully not orchestral one. I mean, orchestral scores did come later in games. For a lot of the time, when budgets were limited, people just used whatever they had to hand, which was a synth or a sequencer. And I remember Total Annihilation. That's probably... There may be a game which came before with a fully orchestral score, but it's the first game I remember playing with a fully orchestral score, even if some of the instruments in it were digital instruments. Doesn't matter. It was fantastic. And the way they achieved that was track one, because you'd have like multiple tracks on a CD. Track one was the data part, which was, I remember it now, 33 megabytes or 31 megabytes. And that was the entire game, including the campaign and the digitized audio of the narration, the images and everything. And then the other tracks on the CD were I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. They were the... Yes, I am getting ahead of myself, but let me think about this. I'm probably getting it a bit wrong. The demo was 33 megabytes, but I think the full game with the campaign, with all the audio, was on 2 CDs, and I think one CD was data, and the other CD was the orchestral score, and you could put in any music CD you wanted, and it would play those as well. And you could even program in sort of saying like which tracks you wanted for just normal bass build, and which ones you wanted for battle. What you wanted for a really intense battle. But back in the day when space was at premium, you had to make music with MIDI or ad-lib, and you had to sequence the notes, and you'd have to instruct the Yamaha chip on the ad-lib sound card how to produce those sounds, so you would be sending instructions. Whereas now you've got 100 gigabyte download. Well, does it matter if you've got a few hundred megabytes of compressed wave or FLAC or MP3 soundtrack? Makes no difference. So yeah, let's go to the destination.
Look, the steel suits have been stored here.
Mm-hmm.
It's cooler inside, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's sort of Duncan.
Well, for the moment, I haven't much to do. I hope that we'll be able to extract large quantities of spice very soon.
All right. Let's talk with
Got the still suits. Good work, Paul. Don't forget to have a look at the map to see if your troops are working well.
That's the thing I like as well. That you're applying reverb effects to say you're in the large hall with reflective surfaces, much like the room I'm recording this in.
Paul, as you know, we haven't been here at the palace long, and this old building may still hold many secrets.
You know what? I'm gonna have
Our
to.
enemies were here recently. We've already found some traps.
You think to yourself, oh yeah, I'll hold up this microphone for half an hour. That won't be a bigger deal. But already I'm getting my fingers. They're starting to get a bit numb. It's strange. So I'm not going to do this for more than half an hour at a time. I think that's a good time format.
Well,
Yeah.
your mother Jessica has this special talent for, well, sounding rooms and finding secret doors. Go with her and search the palace.
All right, that's all I need. Where is Jessica? She's not there. Oh, there she is.
Paul, I gave you more than an education. It was more of a kind of special training. I expect that here on this very special planet, you'll discover that you have many special powers.
Cool, come with me.
Both will try to examine the few rooms we can access. Go ahead, I'm following you.
Let's take you to the desert.
Wait, I can feel something.
Oh, okay.
I think there's a hidden door on the left. Yes, let's have a look.
Okay.
I can't tell you more for the moment, but each time you experience something strange or...
All right. Yeah. Gurney.
Not exactly hospitable. I really don't understand much of this kind of technology.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough, mate.
It looks like a communication room, used to send and receive long-distance messages. I'm going to try to open this door on the right.
Knock yourself out.
communication room. Let's all gather here. Jessica really has extraordinary faculties, doesn't she?
I mean, at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's important that you know you're the head of a royal family that controlled a planet, and now you've been moved to another planet. So communication is important, but this is just kind of advancing the game in a certain way, and so all right, yeah, let's just continue.
Thank you, Leto. But let me tell you, this is an exhausting exercise.
What we did was wander around the palace a bit.
As we are almost all gathered here, I would like to congratulate Paul for what he's done since we arrived here on Dune. He has visited 6
Dune.
sieges, and now these troops of
Dune.
Cryo are working for us. That's a good start.
Like July, but a bit cooler.
I'm pleased to notice that Paul now has a rising charisma among the Fremen.
That is apparently a numerical value in the game, and there is a score being kept. And the higher your charisma, the more Fremen. Because there's certain Fremens, like, you have a charisma threshold, and they won't work for you unless you have it.
Paul, I'm very proud of you. All of my hopes are set on you.
I wonder if taking Gurney Halleck to the desert town to stay there without a still suit would raise or lower my charisma amongst the Fremen. Hey, Jessica.
I'm so tired from having sounded rumors
All right.
like that. I'm staying here.
Good.
I wonder if Duncan is satisfied with the spice production.
Ah, is that a hint to who I should talk to next? Go on, let's see Duncan then. There we are in the second hall.
I must congratulate you on finding this prospecting troop. We're now well on the way, Paul.
I noticed as well when I moved my arm that there's a change in the ambient noise level on the microphone, so if that's making a noise, I apologise. In the future, I'll think of some way to fasten this, even if it's a bit of, you know, duct tape to the desk. Previously, I had the computer on my desk and I had the microphone. Oh, wow, okay. Don't do that again.
Even with the Fremen, we won't get very far in mining spice if we don't have more harvesters. A harvester is a very efficient machine used to mine spice from the ground.
So in the future episodes of this Let's Play, I'll try and find a better solution for this. I mean, this microphone, it's not even really intended for this purpose. It's just, it came with the synth as a condenser mic and it works better than my field mic, so... Alright. Oh, I said don't do that again.
You told me you saw one harvester in a siege. Go there with Gurney and see if you can locate some more of them.
Alright.
Here are our current stocks of spice.
So, Duncan is the sword master of Jinaz, and he's good at strategy and martial arts, and he's just the accountant in this game.
You can notice that yesterday our spice production was better than the day before.
That's probably because those Fremen that weren't working in the non-prospective regions were now working.
Do remember that spice is by far the most valuable substance in the whole universe, and that it can only be found here on Dune.
It's adrenochrome. No, it's not. Let's talk with Gurney.
Let's look at the map and find the Fremen group that Duncan mentioned.
Alright, let's go over there and let's fly there in an awning. Skip to destination. Alright, let's talk with the Fremen.
The harvester. We found it in a siege northeast. Fly straight from here over the crater center, but don't go beyond the rocky area.
Okay.
We're doing spice. Our ability is increasing.
Good.
No, wait. We'd rather you didn't visit our siege. There's nothing here for you to see.
I see. Well, that's a mystery for another time then. So let's take an awning. He said northeast, but don't go beyond the rocky area. Right, so let's fly there in an Orny, and this is just going to go over half an hour then. And once we find this siege, we'll call it a day, and then that'll be it for part 2. We'll come back to part 3. Oh yeah, I'll read this book. I remember I enjoyed the film. See if it's anything like the film. Oh boy. In some ways, I think I got the best introduction to Dune because other people, they read the book. And, I mean, maybe that's good because you didn't have people like Max von Sydow colouring your impression of what the Liet Kyne should look like, or Carl McLachlan as Paul Atreides. But you know what? I loved it. I loved it. I read the book, and Fifa Howard looked exactly like what I imagined, except he's a bit fat in the film, whereas Fifa Howard is sort of stick thin, which I think is just something. Is it characteristic of Mentats? I've never seen a fat Mentat, but yeah, it was good, and Gurney Halleck was. Well, Patrick Stewart is well cast as Gurney Halleck, I think. I mean, there's even some parts in the cut version, the Alan Smithy version, where Gurney's playing the baliset, which is an instrument it's a real instrument, and I ought to look it up. Maybe I'll do that in show notes, or maybe someone in the audience can remind me, and I can sort of say, oh yes, it's called this thing invented by David Smith or whoever it was. It's a good thing that your eyes weren't ruined by the whipping and the beatings you endured. Right, so we'll go to the siege, and we'll land, and that's it. Thank you very much for watching. Tune in next Wednesday. Time to be confirmed, normally 1 o'clock, but then I might change my mind, make it 4 o'clock. Who knows? À tout à l'heure.